Welcome to episode 3 of Komie's Homies. I'm very pleased today to have with us a very special guest, Vince Van Patten. I know Vince through the Senior Pro Pickleball Tour, but that's only a small portion of what he's done in his life. He's a famous actor, a professional tennis player with some amazing wins and a very high ranking, an actor starting in childhood all the way to the present, and he's quite the Renaissance man. And welcome to the show, Vince.
Thanks, David. Good to be on the show.
Great to have you. So this is a pickleball podcast, so I'm going to start at pickleball, but that's kind of not where your story begins, obviously. But since I know you from that, let's talk a little bit about how long you've been playing pickleball and how you got introduced to pickleball.
I've been playing 2 years. Up until 2 years ago, I heard about it vaguely, this game, pickleball. Have you played pickleball? All my tennis friends, my paddle tennis friends, who I played a lot of paddle tennis. And I said, yeah, I heard about it. They go, you got to play. I said, no, I don't. I don't have to play. I hear it's, I don't like the sound of the ball. And they said, oh, you got to come out there once with me. So I go out there once with a friend. I play it. I hate it. You know, I was a tennis snob. Yeah. And I went, I'm never playing this again. 3 months later, another friend, please come out. You're gonna love it. I said, no, I'm not. I played again, hated it again. Right? All right. Long story short, played the third time. I said, you know what? This isn't bad. Then I'm in Las Vegas doing a poker tournament, and my wife calls me up, and I'm losing in Vegas. I'm losing a lot of money, and it's like she says, oh, what's going on? I said, well, you know, everything's going good. She goes, look, I looked at the backyard. It's a swamp out there. We got to build something. I'm going to build a pickleball court. What do you think? I said, no, anything but pickleball. I go, I hate pickleball. She goes, you're going to like it. She goes, it's very cheap. I go, well, how much would it cost? She goes, $7,000. I went, wow. Okay, that's not that bad. Now I'm losing in Vegas, and I figured, what the heck? I feel guilty. Let her have it. So I said, you're on. So we build the pickleball court all because of my wife. I start playing, build it, start loving the game. That's my pickleball story.
So you've got a court at your house, and I've seen pictures with you with some really great players, Beth Bellamy and people like that. So you live in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, we're in Malibu. Yeah.
Oh, in Malibu. So tell me, who were some of the players that you had come over to your house that kind of got you going and got your interest piqued?
Well, first of all, the court is beautiful. It's very tropical all around it, so I really took pride in making it and building it, making it a spectacular court. But you know, a lot of great pros come out here and play, like Gabe Joseph and Ryan Eveloff and Ernesto, the crazy Italian, and among others, Matt Manassi, and I have a bunch of senior pros that we know, and just everybody. But I like to move around too. I don't want to just play at my house. I like to go into Santa Monica, play at the parks, play at 25th Street on Wilshire, because it's good visually, and when you play a lot of tournaments, you got to mix it up. So that's what I'm doing.
How did you feel like your tennis game translated to pickleball?
Well, obviously it's tremendous, but not just tennis, because I was on the circuit for a long time, and that was my life, was tennis. But right. I played paddle tennis for over 25 years, and I was the national champion in singles and doubles and for years in paddle, and I loved that game, but it never took off. And that is more like pickleball, almost the same exact size. The net's a little lower. So I understood singles immediately going to pickleball, because that's exactly how you play singles in paddle tennis. You return, you come in behind it, you volley it off, you know, and vice versa. So that was the thing. Whereas I play with Johnny McEnroe, he's been up here, and he hasn't made that transition as easy because, and I believe it's truly because he hasn't played paddle tennis. So he wasn't used to that. He's from tennis, and it's a little different game. So I think it's paddle tennis that helped me.
So let's talk about McEnroe for a second. What do you think his difficulty is? I mean, he's obviously great at it, and he gets the crowds going crazy. Is he having trouble with the soft game, the kitchen?
Well, his difficulty is he doesn't really like it that much, you know, to be honest. Because I don't like this game, you know. I'm just doing it for the XO and whatever. And he's right. So he doesn't put the time in. Otherwise, he would be great. He's swinging his volleys too big right now, and his instincts aren't really there yet, but that's because he doesn't put the time in. If he did, I'm sure in a year or two he'd be tops. I just got to play with Andre Agassi in the last few weeks. So we trained in Vegas, and he is loving the game, and he's saying he wants to get better and better, and he is good now. He's very, very good. His level, in my opinion, in senior pros, is easily at a 9-9. I mean, his forehand, backhand, serves, great. And his dinking is at a 5 level, and it will move up. But he covers the middle and sticks the ball like no other senior. So he has a potential of being great, in my opinion.
Has he talked about competing at all, Andre?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about, hey, let's maybe play something, and he's interested in that. I think he's just going to go, baby steps for a while, and he's got that big exhibition with Mac and Steffi and Kornikova, I think, in a few weeks, and he's playing that. But I think he's kind of hooked, as I got hooked, as you got hooked, and it's great because he is so good for the game, and he's such a big personality, so he'll be fun.
Definitely outstanding. And going back to McEnroe again, I mean, he signed a big deal with Al. Can you imagine signing big, like 7-figure deals for something you don't even like, that you don't even try at?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, these guys are going, okay, why not? I'll take the money. And then I was just at the PPA tournament in Palm Springs where I played a few events, and of course, Bouchard played, and I guess she didn't put the training in. I mean, she's got a big deal there. And if you don't put the training in, as you know, it's going to be tough in the beginning. I hope she hangs in there. I hope she takes it seriously, because in a year she'll be tops, probably with her talent. And I hate to see people knocking her in the game of pickleball just because, for whatever reasons. They sometimes like to take down the big tennis stars that go into pickleball, which is too bad.
Yeah, she just needs some more time. You could look at her forehand, and I think she got kind of a Western grip, and she was having trouble just like lifting the ball over the net. She was catching the top of the tape over and over.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, but it's not, because in the beginning we all made those mistakes coming from tennis. In the beginning I said, how can the forehand's not going over? I have no feel. And then after a while it feels like you have tennis strings on a pickleball paddle, which is interesting. Notice I said racket first. And I know people in pickleball hate it when you say, hey, it's not a racket, that's the paddle. So finally saying that right.
Yeah. Well, I saw that you actually played that PPA Masters, wore all white, and won some prize money with the young people. Is that true?
Can you believe it? I figured, what the heck? I said, I'm playing the seniors. Yeah, I'm winning some money in the seniors. I'm ranked number 6 for the APP in singles, and it beats up my feet too much. So I think I have to give up the singles. It just beats me up. I'm playing in the 50s, and I'm a lot older than these guys, and I'm still doing well. But I figured, okay, now I've been concentrating on doubles for the last 3 or 4 months. I want to be a doubles specialist. And I think I've moved up a few notches in doubles, and I'm playing so well that I went, screw it. Let me see how I'm going to do against the open guys. So we played in the open qualies, and we lost first round. We didn't play well, but in practice we were beating all the top teams, a lot of in LA. And then I played the money ball, which is tough competitions. And lo and behold, we got to the final and almost won in 3 games, which proves to me in doubles, you just don't have to have the mobility. If you have the angles and you have the drops and you know what you're doing. So you can be much older and still compete with the young guys, I believe, at a certain level.
Well, I mean, you proved it. I mean, you're not a spring chicken anymore, and to get in there and get a silver medal with the pros at the PPA Masters,
Yeah.
I know it was the money. What is it? Moneyball is what it's called.
Moneyball,
But that's
Moneyball.
still amazing. Yeah, Moneyball, and kudos to you, my friend.
Thanks a lot.
So, I met you at nationals, and we both had to play that guy that all I remember is he hit the drop volleys all the time, and it seems like you've really come a long way since then.
Thank you.
Yes, what really started getting my attention is you were playing guys younger than you, and you knocked out, I think, Mircea and Paul Olin back to back in singles, and that's when I was saying, hey, I'm not surprised, but Vince is really for real in this pickleball thing.
So nice.
Could you talk about that tournament? Was that a breakthrough for you?
Oh, for sure. In Arizona, I have neuropathy in my feet, and when I overplay and overtrain, I get a shooting pain right up my big toe. And I also
Ouch.
have turf toe from 40 years ago on the tennis tour, and that's in my right toe. If I overplay, these things happen, and then I can't work, I can't move, I can't split step, so it's a disaster. But when I'm healthy, when I'm right, when it's not hurting, I feel like I can move and in singles at least beat anyone, you know. And I did there, and I love singles so much. But then I injured myself in the last 6 months again with it, and I went, it's time to give it up. I mean, doubles, I could play my whole life. I can get better and better in doubles, so that's where I'm going now.
What kind of training have you done for doubles? Are you just playing games? Are you drilling? Or what are you doing that you've improved so much in doubles in the last few months?
Well, Dave, I tell you, pickleball is weird because most players they hate to do drills. I mean, I'm playing with Ernesto, who's a terrific player. Played Open qualifying. He's played Ben Johns. He's my buddy, and Alex. These guys, I'm a driller my whole life in tennis. I love thinking about the game and working the subtleties because then it comes out in the match. I find that most players don't want to do that. They don't want to grind. And I don't blame them. It gets a little boring. It can. But if you really want to be good, you drill. And that's what I do. I do a lot of that. And I love it. And I can practice serves by myself. And that's how I train. Plus, I
Do you
want
have
to
a
be.
ball machine at your house? Do you work with a ball machine?
Have a court and we have a ball machine. I've used it once. It stinks. And it's a top-notch ball machine. But it doesn't
Yeah.
help if you're really at a higher level. It just can't move you around enough and make it work. So it's collecting dust in the garage. So what are you gonna do?
Well, I'm sure listeners will be interested to know, since you've got accelerated your double so quick, if I could go, what type of drills are you doing? You're doing a lot of work at the kitchen. You're doing transition work. You're doing it all. You're doing drops. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the dinks, the drops, and hand speed drills, doing it all. Overheads. I don't think people practice their overheads enough. Backhand overheads. Or I do everything, and I take a lot of these drills from tennis, which I used to do in tennis, and I convert it over, and it's great cardio. And I just do everything around the post and practicing the ernies without even the balls. So I like to do a lot of different stuff.
How many days a week are you working out with your pickleball?
You know, I'm a degenerate and I love the game so much. I would play every day for 4 hours a day. But of course I can't because it'll break me down. So
Right.
it's horrible when you have to take a day off. How sick is that? But I would say 3 to 4 easily.
Um,
You know,
okay. Um, well, I saw that you have some interesting things in your pickleball future, including a battle of the sexes versus a singles match versus Paris Todd. Can you tell us how that came about and tell us all about that, please?
well, yeah, we'll see if it happens. But David Kreef, who did the Martina Jimmy Connors match, Battle of the Sexes in tennis back in the 90s, and did a lot of different battles, is a friend in Malibu. And he called me up about 8 months ago and said, Vinny, I got a great idea. We sit down. I go, what is it? I go, the Bobby Riggs type of thing against the girl. He goes, yes. He goes, that's it. You got to challenge the #1 player in the world, the women. Can you beat her? I said, you know what? If I'm healthy, yes, I will beat her. Even at my age, I think I'd put up my own money to do that. And he goes, I thought you would, and I've seen you play, and I think you can. And so we went to Paris Todd, who's fantastic. And she
Yes.
may not be #1 now, but she's top 5, 6 players in the world, and she's a
Yes.
great charismatic player. And she said, yeah, you think you could beat me? I said, yeah, actually I do, you know. So we'll see what happens. So they're putting that together. Maybe it'll be a Vegas thing or an Indian casino, but we do that plus a whole lot of other interesting exhibitions during that day. So that's being put together right now.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. People love Battle of the Sexes, and you know, it's a very compelling matchup. I mean, it
Yes.
definitely is. Let me ask you something about what else you're going to do in pickleball in the future, because now there's APPs, PPAs. Matthias Johansson has his senior tour, which is a lot in California near you.
Yeah.
We've got NPL with the league thing. What's in Vince Van Patten's future this year pickleball?
I love it. I'm pretty healthy right now with the feet. So actually, in 2 weeks, I'm playing the APP seniors with Yvonne Lendl.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yvonne is an old friend. We actually played a big pro tournament together in doubles, and we got to the final or something. Lost to Mac and Fleming, and we've always got along. And so I heard he was playing, so I called him about 5 weeks ago, and he said, "Yes, I love the game. I love the game." I said, "Great." I go, "You want to play some doubles sometimes?" He goes, "Yes." He goes, "Let me get back into shape." So we've entered the 50s and 60s senior pro at Daytona. We will be there. We're going to have a blast, you know. So that's good.
You're playing
And
both events.
50s and 60s doubles. I'm also entered in the
Great.
singles 60s, so I'll attempt that if my toe's not broken down by that point. So doing that, I'm playing a lot of APPs this year. I'm playing Matthias's events. I'm playing PPA. I just think senior pickleball should be bigger on the map. Look, we know the seniors love the game. They want to have heroes out there that they can look up to that are really fit and enjoying it and playing spectacular. So I think there should be more viewership watching the seniors. So hopefully we'll bring a lot of the superstars from tennis in and we can all get along and really have a highly competitive, no nonsense, top of the world, best seniors players in the world competing, and that will draw attention and get the TV time that we deserve.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're a great ambassador because you've got all those guys in your phone, and you can bring them over to pickleball. I think that's amazing.
I think there's going to be a period of they're not sure yet because they don't want to get beat. They're going to improve their
Right.
game. But once they are, they're going to be right there with them, and they're going to love it. It's another great sport that they can do.
Let's talk a little bit if we could go back in time because I think you're you know you're a Renaissance man. You've done a lot of different things. You first we were born in Long Island and lived there for a while. Is that right?
That's true. 12 years. We were born in Long Island, and then I was a kid actor. My father was an actor, and he got brought out to Hollywood to do a series, and I got brought out to do a series as a kid actor, and we stayed out here ever since.
Your dad was in acting before you, I guess, and then he kind of. I mean, everybody knows your dad because when I was a kid, everybody loved Eight Is Enough.
Yeah.
Was that kind of what broke your family in acting, where you kind of that was the big break, or how did that come to be?
My father was a stage actor in New York as a little kid, and was a big star in a show called I Remember Mama, big superstar in the late 50s. And then he was washed up for 8 years. We moved to Long Island, and he was selling real estate. And his
Wow.
career was over. But then he went back on Broadway with little parts, and all of a sudden he got hot, and he got brought out to Hollywood to do a couple shows, and he was a good character actor. Didn't make it until like 78, where he got Eight Is Enough. And then he made it. So I was 18 years old at the time. So we were not with like a big celebrity father when we were kids. I had moved out of the house at 18. So we've seen the tough times in Hollywood. We've seen the tough times in Long Island. And that was a good thing because a lot of these, kids that grow up and their father's a big superstar, might get a little jaded and a little spoiled. That wasn't us.
But you had an agent early on and started getting gigs at a pretty young age. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I was a kid actor. I wanted to act because it would get me out of school. Oh, I'm gonna be off. And so I never stopped working. I worked with the top and had did two big TV series. I was the Bionic Boy and kept that going until eventually my tennis got so good. I went, forget the acting. I'm going to go on the tennis tour, and that I made that happen in a great way. And I made, I was out on the tennis tour for 10 years and top 25 in the world. And I was the ATP Rookie of the Year, 1979. And I had some great thrills. And I made a lot of money. And at the time when I retired at age 30, I thought I made enough money to never have to work again. And like 2 years later, I was broke. I'm going, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
Let's go back into the acting. And then no one wanted me. I was kind of like, oh, no, they don't want me at 30 years old. Where's he been? He was a tennis player, blah, blah, blah. So I couldn't do it. I started writing stuff. And I love writing. I wrote screenplays and was playing poker at the time, high stakes poker to get by. And long story short, I made a couple good films, and that evolved. And so did my poker life. So I played big high stakes poker, and then I got the World Poker Tour. That kind of fell in my lap in 1999, 2002. Did that for years and years, and now I'm making other movies, and I'm producing movies. So it's all worked out. All these things I like doing have worked out in a good way.
I'd like to go into more depth about some of those things, but one thing that occurs to me is that I'm sure everybody wants to know how you juggle multiple endeavors. Like, how do you juggle acting and a professional tennis career or now you play so much pickleball and you're still doing films and you're a commentator for World Poker. How do you juggle all those things? And just let us know.
I think I'm lucky in the sense that like World Poker Tour, I'm really only working maybe 60 days a year, in and out. And I have the greatest bosses in the world, the World Poker Tour, and they're wonderful. I've been with the show 22 years now, and it's just a blessing. It's a true blessing. So I don't have to work all the time. I love to write. I get up at 5 in the morning. I start my writing and creative stuff, whether it's a book or a film or something like that. And then my pickleball, you have to prioritize and say, okay, I'm going to play for 2 hours this time. My kids are grown now. My youngest is 20 years old. I have a 30-year-old and a 28-year-old. So now I have the time. My wife is great. She does soap opera Young and the Restless. She's been doing that for a while. And she works sporadic, whatever she wants to. She has a very blessed job as well. So it's just prioritizing and getting lucky and finding out what you want to do and trying to do it well.
Do you think if you would have done just one thing and focused on one thing that would have been boring for you? Did you find life more exciting by pursuing multiple things at a time?
I think it's just been a gift that when I was acting, I was doing well, and then I kind of got washed up, and my tennis all of a sudden came through. Of course, I'm going to put 100% into that, and that came through. Finally, when I retired from that, nothing was happening. I'm playing poker now, and I was playing poker in big games before poker was popular. This was the 80s and the early 90s, and I learned everything about it, and I studied. And when I get into something, I like to read everything about it. I like to study everything about it, and I really write down a lot of notes because that's my bread and butter. If I'm going to do that, that's my bread and butter. So I want to be the best at what I can do at the time. So I was very good at poker, and then I created the biggest poker game in LA, which, Molly's game was an offshoot of my game. Molly came to my game, and I had Ben Affleck and Toby in the game, and it was a wonderful game. But you could win a ton of money and lose a ton of money. And like I always said, winning was great, but losing is 4 times worse than what you would have won. So it's painful. It takes days to get over a big loss in poker. So eventually, around 2010, I sort of pushed that to the side. The games were getting too big, and so I did that. And then I've been making movies now, and we made the movie 7 Days to Vegas, and we're probably going to do a sequel. But everything kind of works out. And now pickleball, I'm very, very lucky that way, very blessed, I feel, and fortunate to be able to have things that I love doing, and I can do them well.
So 7 Days to Vegas, that's where you were going to walk 280 miles from Los Angeles to Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, it was based on an actual bet I made in the poker game around 2000 against a big bookie. I like to bet a lot of money. He goes, hey, I bet you can't walk to Vegas and say, you think you're in great shape. I bet you can't walk to Vegas in 4 days. I go, of course I can't walk to Vegas. I'm old. I can't. He goes, $500,000. I go, crazy. I go, I couldn't make it in 12. He goes, 5. I said, I couldn't make it in 9. He goes, 7. I go, you're on. So the bet was on, and we made the film about that. Now, it's not all true. There's a lot of, based on this true story, we made 7 Days to Vegas, and it's wonderful. It's about high-stakes players betting on anything, and one of the bets is this bet, and they all go to see him fail. And it was successful, and people loved the film, and it's been about 4 years since it's been out, and it's time to make the sequel, and I'm writing it now, and that's called Stuck and Broke in Palm Springs.
Now, what's that about?
Well, it's 5 years later, and they're broke now. So we made a lot of money on that bet, and now they're broke, and how are we going to get this guy back? How are we going to get him for $60 million? And it's all about cons and twists and turns. And so I'm having fun writing that, and we'll probably do it next year.
And that's like what you do, like you said, you wake up at 5 a.m. and start writing for a while?
Yeah, I like to write the script, and then I got a couple books I'm writing about my life and this and that. And I love to write, and I like writing in the morning. That's my window from 5 to 10, 11. After lunch, I'm done, right? I just want to just sleep a little bit, get some coffee, then go out in the afternoon. But my best time is in the mornings.
That's incredibly disciplined, and my understanding is that great writers have to basically be on a schedule and write and write it like on a daily basis, because you got to kind of build up those writing muscles.
So true. And I think the more, if I lay off 2 or 3 weeks and I go, oh, what's that? And you look at the story and it's not quite as fresh, and your ideas aren't moving as much. So you really do want to get at it every day if you can.
And I guess, are you still friends with a bunch of people in the business and everything like that? So it's pretty easy to get interested in your ideas, pitch your ideas, get support.
I like to think that I am, but it's very tough. Actors are very tricky, and when they're name actors, especially, getting in touch with, and then they say, okay, get in touch with my agent, and it's like, I don't want to get in touch with any agents. And it's such a bore. They give you the runaround. Hollywood is a lot of this, taking their time, and if you're in there, great. If you're in there, click. If not, it's very tough to break into. So I have to go a different way with independent films. And I do have certain friends as actors, and I want to work with people that are my friends and that are good. And but it's not always that easy putting something together. But the second one's easier because you have proof of the first one, And I got a lot of actors that love the film, so I can go to them.
I went to your IMDb page, and they have as 7 days to Vegas. Well, here's one that I have to talk about. I'm a huge Ramones fan, and you were in rock and roll high school. So did you get to hang out with the Ramones? Did you feel the tension between the singer and the guitar player who hate each other? Can you tell me something about that, please?
Hey, listen, it was like a 10-day shoot for this producer called Roger Corman, and he made very cheap movies. And I took the job because no one else was giving me any jobs, so I took the job. And the Ramones, we hung out for about 3 nights at the Roxy. I think we shot at the Roxy on Sunset Boulevard. And late at night, and I got to know the Ramones sitting there. They didn't say anything, though. We were backstage waiting in between scenes, and they said nothing. And they just sat around like this, and they would eat the pizza. They would eat pizza. And you try to make conversation. Didn't say much. That's cool. They're from Queens, New York, close to where I grew up, I understood. And I guess someone told them that, I'm a tennis player or something like that. I was world-ranked tennis player at the time. And later on in a book from the Ramones, I think Joey Ramone said about the shoot, he said, we had a good time. He goes, but I didn't like Vincent Van Patten because they said, why? They said, because he played tennis and everything. Yeah, I was a professional player, you idiot. But no offense. I mean, he just didn't get it. We didn't click. I don't know. I hardly said 2 words. But that was it. The director, you shoot everything in one take, so everything was flying by. People did love the movie, and the Ramones were great. I do respect them, and they were terrific. And I'm glad it's like a cult hit. People come up all the time and love that movie.
It's a cult classic. I love it, and I'm going to rewatch it now that I know you, and that's on my to-do list.
Yes.
Let's talk about your tennis. I mean, you have an amazing tennis background. When did you start playing, and where were you when you started playing?
Well, I started playing in New York, in Long Island, very bad. And we moved to LA when I was 12. I played every day at the park, Poinsettia Park, because my parents played. They were hacks. But they said, okay, come with us and find your own game. And back then in tennis, it was so big in the 70s that, everybody was playing tennis. And I was dying to play tennis. I liked it, and my brothers played it. And that's how we kind of grew up. I was self-taught, never had a tennis lesson. And my father eventually said, do you want to play in a tournament? I said, yeah. Well, I got beat 0-0 by Walter Redondo, who was the best junior in the nation. But I kept going, and I loved the game. But I progressed there. I played all the juniors. My highest ranking ever was 10 in Southern Cal, my last year of the 18, so I was not even given a chance. But I somehow broke through. When after 18, I lifted weights. I got stronger. And I was so tired of people picking on me and losing to everybody that I had some type of burning desire to beat them all. And so it was a revenge thing. I'll show them. And lo and behold, even I didn't go to college, never got one scholarship offer, nothing. And people said, you want to be a pro? You have no chance. What are you, the middle of me? And I don't know how it happened, but I turned it around, and I had a tremendous year, 1 year. And I became the highest ranked player of all time, moving up from 800 in the world with like 1 ATP point to number 34 in the world that year to get the ATP Rookie of the Year. And then I beat McEnroe numerous times, and Connors, and doubles, and everybody, and Vitas, and Nastasi, and it was a dream come true. I mean, I wanted to be number one in the world. Fell short of that, but for that 1 week in Japan, I was number one in the world. Everybody was in the tournament, and that felt great.
It was the Seiko tournament in Tokyo. Can you tell me who you knocked off in that event? It was like what,
Four in the
1979
world.
or?
Yeah, four in the world. Jose Luis Clerc,
Oh
Vitas
wow.
was ranked 6 in the world. Johnny Mack was ranked 1 in the world. Mark Edmondson was ranked 10 in the world. Gullickson was ranked 15 in the world. I beat them all that week. Then I beat Johnny Mack in the Suntory, which was a 4-man tournament in Japan about 8 months later. Beat him again. And so there was a big money match, and I beat him again there. But it was fun knocking off all the best players. I would watch McEnroe play beforehand and watch all his patterns, where he exactly when it's deuce, where does he like to go? So I would guess one way or the other because his serve was so good, you had to guess, and I credit that to beating him. Just playing good, playing sharp, but also mentally knowing where he was going to go on his serve.
Were you stepping into your returns to kind of knock off the angles before they, because he had that huge spin out wide and.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, back then, everybody was at the line. Bjorn was like 3 feet behind the line. That was considered way back,
Yeah.
But no, everybody was at the line waiting for it. And that's how we played it then. Now they're 25 feet behind, and it works. But I think they have to be because the gut, we used to have gut, that the ball did not come off the gut nearly as hard and fast as what they have now. These strings make everybody so much better, and the rackets. So now they're playing it like it's ping pong. Not to say our group wouldn't have adjusted. Of course we would have. You think Johnny Mack would have just been playing his chip? He'd have had every stroke in the world. Bjorn would have had all those things. So, that's how it is for every 10 years. The game gets better. It evolves. But doesn't mean that these guys are so much better than the era 20, 30 years ago. It doesn't mean that at all. It's about to say it's all relative.
How did McEnroe take it when you beat him those couple of times?
Horrible. Horrible. I mean, he did everything he could to break a guy's momentum. And I played him again in Benson and Hedges in the semifinals, and I had him beat, and he'd 8 minutes, questioning a call, blah, blah, blah. And he wound up beating me in 3 there. That's when I didn't shake his hand. Crowd went nuts. But I like John, and now we get along great. I see him and I respect him so much. He's a great, great player, but he did everything. And I'll tell you something that's interesting. Now that they have the lines called, by the electronic, John, you can't get away with anything. So would he have been as good? Perhaps not, because he couldn't have all that time saying, hey, that ball was in and out, breaking a guy's momentum. So he would have had to win in a different way, I believe.
Yeah, well, now the guys are using bathroom breaks and things like that.
Hey, by the way, I think pickleball is obviously they have to turn this over. They cannot leave it to the players. Professional players calling their own lines and an overrule perhaps, that's a mess. They got to get the electronic calls going. Otherwise, it's not fair for anybody.
It's interesting you say that because I talked to Barry Waddell. He's a top senior pro, and he said that there's devices that go on the top of the net that are inexpensive, and that's people's argument against it. Well, we don't have the money for that, but I heard that you can get a Hawkeye type system,
Really?
that's not bad at all. Why not have it on championship court?
Absolutely.
So you never had a tennis lesson in your life. I find that amazing because your game, the technique is like picture perfect. The two-hander, all the strokes. Did you just watch people, or did you?
Great question.
How did that?
I just watched people. I had a horrible forehand for years. I had one lesson. My father took me and my brother, who was a very good tennis player too, to one guy named Steve in the Valley. He was supposed to be a good teaching pro. And we hit for an hour, me and my brother with them. And at the end, my father said to him, so what do you think? What do you think of the kids? How good do you think they can be? And Steve said in front of us, he goes, well, if they play all the time, they might become good club players. That was it. I never took another lesson. So anyway, watch the good players. My natural two-hand backhand was always mine. I didn't have to do anything like that. My forehand has evolved. Even when I was on the circuit, I was still tinkering and saying, how do I do it? Oh, look at Bjorn hit his serve. Okay, try to do that. And now in paddle tennis and pickleball, I've improved. I mean, now the last 20 years in tennis, I have a Western forehand grip, and it's much better. And I understand shortening it. I was going way back too much when I was on the tour. I shortened it. in pickleball, I have a completely shortened form. So you can change strokes and to the
Yes.
better. That's what I've been doing.
Yes. I assumed, incorrectly that your dad being such a well-known actor and you being an actor and being in LA, I thought you'd be going to, I don't know, Robert Lansdorp or all these people and just had every opportunity in the world. So I'm very impressed with your story.
I tell you, I wanted to have coaching, but no one wanted to coach me. It didn't seem like anybody wanted to coach me. And when you go to one of these junior tournaments, I never heard one person ever give me a compliment on my game. Not one. And that's why when I go to tournaments today in pickleball, I see kids, I go, that's good, man. You're going to be a great. I like to inspire because so people hold back on compliments. At least they did in my age and my career. And it's such an important thing to inspire young kids and compliment them and build them up and give them
Do you
hope.
think
You can do anything you want. You want to be a pro, it's possible. It's going to put the work in and be great.
Do you think you ran into some discrimination, maybe some jealousy because of the fact that your dad was a famous actor, you're an actor, you're a great-looking guy, maybe the people were rooting against you and didn't take you seriously?
Maybe there's some of that, yeah. But um,
I
about
remember
yeah,
I remember when I saw you. You used a Prince racket, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I saw you play on TV, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what this?" And then I saw that backhand, and I was like, "This guy is for real." And anyway, kudos to you. Your brother was a player too, is that right?
Yeah, Nels was a very good player. Got ranked in the top 200, 300 in doubles. He just had a horrible temper, and so he couldn't take the losses. So he kind of gave it up. And he's a great coach. Coached so many stars and great young juniors, and he was pros as well. And he's still coaching in the San Fernando Valley in LA. Loves the game. Yeah, great brother, great athlete.
I think I read that you and he won a challenger event together in doubles. Is that right?
Right, that's right. We won a tournament over in Greece, and he would get so nervous before a match. Our match was like at 11 o'clock, and it was the final. And Nels says, I can't take it. I'm too nervous. I said, okay, just try to relax. And he goes, I got to get out of here. He leaves. He's gone for an hour, right? And they're going, where is your brother? I don't know. He went for a run. He ran through Athens and came back so that he was sweating so he could sweat out some of the nerves. And he got on the court. I go, where have you been? Let's get out there. He goes, okay. He goes, I'm still nervous. The guy serves him the first ball. He goes, I'm going to hit this ball as hard as I can. I said, take it easy, Nels. This guy serves. He hits the ball, flies out of the court, over the fence. Honest to God. But from that point on, he got relaxed. He started laughing, and he's relaxed, and we went on to win the tournament. But he was great.
You probably don't.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry. You probably don't remember, but I looked at the score. I looked at it was 7-6, 7-6, so it must have been a pretty tight one.
Then we played the tournament champions because if you win one tournament, you can play. And that was at Forest Hills, and that's where I grew up watching players play, the greats, and we got to play there. I think we won. We might have won a couple rounds, but that was an honor to play at that great stadium. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
There seems to be begging a question is how you go from 10 in Southern Cal to, top 25 in the world, knocking off all the best players in the world. Something must have developed. You had to have had a weapon there. Unless it was mental. What do you think it was that changed so much? Because everybody wants to do that and nobody can do it.
It's true. Maybe it was my speed. I had exceptional speed. I worked on my speed. I would do wind sprints all the time and movement. And also, I think I was not afraid to go for shots. I didn't get near. The bigger the point, the more I liked it. The bigger the crowd, the more I liked it. So I got up for it. I couldn't play on the backcourt when no one's watching, ego or whatever. You just can't get up for it as much. It's almost like if I'm in front of those people, I'd be embarrassed not to play great. So I push myself, and I'm always better on the big stage. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And maybe because I was a kid actor and working all the time, and I had to listen to directors all the time. I was disciplined. Maybe that all comes into it too. It gave me confidence to believe I could do something else. So I think it's important that you have confidence that you actually believe. I believed I could beat Macker. I believed I could beat anybody. I just never put that in mind that I couldn't because I said, hey, they could miss. Just get the ball back, run it down, and hit the short stuff for winners. And that's how I played. Keep it simple.
I looked like there was some overlap between the time that you were playing the tour and still doing some acting. Is that true, or were you just really?
Yeah, that's true. That's true because I wasn't doing that well in 78 and 77. I was playing certain pro matches, and then I'd do Rock and Roll High School, I think, in 78. So I was maybe a few ATP points then. I didn't think I was going to make it on the pro tour, so I did the movie. I did Hell Night in 79, I think. That was with Linda Blair, a horror film. I mean, I just gave up the circuit for 5 weeks to do it because I didn't think I was going to make it in tennis. So there was some overlap, you know.
Do you think that the acting stuff kept you fresh with tennis, where you got a break from it and you really yearned to get back to it? Mentally, how did that play into your tennis?
Yeah, it's such devastating when you're playing tennis. Everyone knows how devastating it can be, the losses, that you need a break. It's like pickleball too, I could imagine, for these guys. When you're going bad, it's not fun, and you want to go home. So those breaks might have helped me in a way, or they might have hurt me. You know, you see the Aussies. I was jealous of the Aussies and the Swedes because they had a team out there. They had their eight Aussie. They all traveled together. They had practice partners. They had trainers. The Swedes, with 12 of them all together, Mats and Jared and all these guys, they're eating together the cereal in unison at the big table. Me, I'm the American loner over there, and no coach, you know, and it wasn't. That helps to have a team out there. Now everybody has a team out there, but when I was playing in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, I had no team, so it was rough. So maybe those breaks were good for me, you know.
So when you were on the tour, you mostly traveled alone, and you didn't have a coach. You didn't have the physical therapist or whatever the people have. And
no, no. And first year in '79, when I did finally make it, I was all there by myself and my best buddy Daryl Goldman, and we tried to play these little tournaments across country. And I broke through, winning a couple of those tournaments. That moved me from 700 in the world to 45 in the world, and now I'm in the U.S. Open, Flushing Meadows. And everyone's talking about me because the week before I played Cincinnati. I beat Harold Solomon, and I beat Bob Lutz and Tom Ocker and all these great players. Now all of a sudden I'm going, I'm for real. I can beat these guys. And I'm playing the first round against Ivan Lendl, and it was also his rookie year. And I'm playing him for a big match, and everybody's watching. And I wound up losing that match. It was like 4-3 in the first set. I got sawdust in my eyes. It flew in my eyes. I cut my eye. I never won another game. I didn't default, but I was playing really well. I think I could have beaten Ivan that day, but I lost that. But it was a sawdust thing. And the next thing you know, I'm top 30 in the world, top 25 in the world, and with a big career and endorsements and exhibitions, and it just happened. Fun.
That's crazy. So yeah, Ivan would dig into his pocket and get sawdust to keep his hands dry, but I guess it must have been windy that day and it blew into your eye.
He would do it, but I also did it because I was.
Oh, you did it too. Okay.
I also did it, and it honestly came out of my pocket, and boom. But teach you a lesson. I'm going to see if I'm playing with Ivan in a couple of weeks, obviously, and I'm going to see if he's still using sawdust or not.
Yeah.
Maybe both of us will have the sawdust there.
So, okay, so you're traveling alone. It seems like things are very different then. How many years were you on the tour?
10 years total of ATP rankings. After I made it, there was a coach that I did get from Southern Cal. My brother knew him, and his name was Perry, and he's from Greece, and he was very good, and we did a lot of good stuff together. So we did travel with me then for about a year, and he was very good in training. He overtrained me, though, you know. I didn't need to get put. I would play so much and so hard that I got injured in a lot of ways. And his techniques were great, but we never took a day off. So I learned from that. So I did eventually have a coach or somebody on the side, but I never had any, I have to say, great coaches. I didn't have a Marty Reeson. I didn't have a feedback. Wanted to coach me. For some reason, that didn't work out once I made it. And I regret that because I could have even been better.
What did you do as far as cross training and diet and those kind of things without having a team?
Not much diet then because I was down to 158 pounds. I mean, I could eat anything I wanted at any time then. Didn't stretch much. I'm very, very not unflexible. I mean, I'm a very stiff person. So I could use I could have used a lot of that work and massage. I didn't get any of that stuff. So it was a different time, and you just had to wing it. But Vitas Gerulaitis, he never stretched. He never did anything but play tennis. He wouldn't even warm up, but he would just go on the court and be loose.
Yeah.
And he was flexible. Johnny Mack is flexible. He can touch his. I can't get near my toes. Um, so it's interesting, but obviously there's a big edge today to having that team around, to help you.
You said it that you were really fast, and I think a lot of people who are really fast have tight and strong hamstrings. And I don't know if you agree with that, but some of the fastest people
You're right.
around, I think, are kind of stiff because of that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Very tight hair. It's horrible. It's so tight. But so that's what I'm doing more now. Obviously, doing a lot more stretching, and it does help. It does help you get uninjured.
Okay. So when do you start playing poker? You said it was after you were finished with your tennis career?
I played poker as a kid. My father taught me how to play poker, and at age 15, I'm in his games. At
Oh,
my acting money, and I would be in his games. Games you can win $500 to $1,000. And my father was that way. He was just like everybody thinks he's the father from Eight Isn't Enough, but actually my father's a gambler. He's got a great sense of humor, and he said,
yeah.
just grow up. Gave me no advice in life except for just you'll figure it out type of thing. And I'd be playing poker with him till 8 in the morning, and then going to school. And my poker game evolved. And once I got off the tennis circuit, I read Doyle's book in 1985, and started going to the World Series main event, and started having big home games in LA myself, and so it's got better and better and bigger for me.
Um, so when you were young and you played with your dad and stuff, you said you had acting money. So when you were a childhood actor and you got your money, would you have access to it yourself, or your parents put it in an account for you? How does a young person deal with that kind of money?
Yeah, well, it all went into the parents, and I would say, hey, after 3 or 4 years, I'd say, hey, what do I have? They go, don't worry about it. You got money in there. You got money in there. I say, you'll find out when you're 18. So when I'm
Yeah.
18, and I'm working all the time, I do different TV series and all that. I'm 18. I go, so can I see the money? Can I get the money, Dad? And he said, yeah. He goes, but I got that. It's not that much. I said, what? He goes, well, there's expenses and things like that we had to do. And, I said, oh, okay. And he goes, so I'm figuring maybe there's $5,000 or something like that. So he goes, here's your checkbook. And he goes over there, and I see $150,000. And I
Wow.
went, oh, he was kidding around, right? So I had 150,000 in 1977. 77 is a lot of money. It's like $1 million.
It is.
So that was a lot of money. And he goes, look, I was jumping up and down. I go, thank you. You didn't spend the money. I said, of course not. He goes, I suggest you buy a house. He goes, you buy a house. I go, okay. So he goes, we looked for property, and I invested that 150 into a piece of property in Sherman Oaks. And he goes, you should buy put the tennis court on it. So you'll never have to work again. You can always teach. I said, okay. All in for 180,000. I had a house and a tennis court and a pool, and that was my house for the next 12 years or so. And it was great. He was very smart that way. He invested my money, put it into that house, and I lived there. My brother lived there with me, and it was a great thing.
That's amazing. So now are you still playing a lot of poker? I know you're a commentator.
Yeah.
What's your relationship with poker now?
Yeah, I'm World Poker Tour host and commentator, 22 years going. It's all over the world. So that's a great job. I don't play that much anymore because I don't like the late nights. It's not as healthy. I got the job. I don't need the extra money or aggravation when you lose. So I'm not playing that much, and I'm happier for it.
Well, you've done a lot of amazing things. I really don't know anybody that has done such a diverse amount of things. What do you see in your future? Are we looking at pickleball and writing movies and books?
Yeah, I mean, seems like a good idea right now. It's going great. I love the pickleball. I want to be the best senior I can be and top player and stay healthy and give back to a lot of people in the pickleball world and kids, try to inspire them to play this great game, and it's so healthy. And I love the social aspect. As we all know, you make so many friends. So it's a good thing for America and the world. So I'll keep doing that, enjoying it. My wife's now really into it. She's terrific, and we're having a good time. And creatively, I always like to just keep something going creatively, and hopefully I'll be making the film next year. The sequel to 7 Days to Vegas, and that's it. Just strumming along, doing good.
I appreciate you going over a lot of the things. I mean, it's hard to go over a biography as extensive as yours. Is there anything that I left out that was important? Anything you'd like to add? Any type of closing comment?
Well, okay, I'll just say this. I think that my life has been guided by God. I truly believe that. And that everything works out for a reason. You're good and you're bad. And I wouldn't have rewritten it any other way. My life is just in a weird way. If I trust and give back to the world and be a good person, I feel like good things happen, generally speaking. And so I think it's all meant to be. And that's how I want to continue my life. It's fun.
Well, Vince, I really appreciate you being on the show. You're a fascinating person. I'm glad we're friends, and I hope to see you around now that I'm healthy out on the circuit a little bit.
Perfect. David, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.